Hey everyone, this is Austin with QuantVue. Today I want to go over a new QuantVue NinjaTrader strategy called Leon Grid. What Leon Grid is I had a member come to me with a very detailed printout of their manual trade plan, and he asked me if it would be possible to try to automate it. So after looking at his trade plan, I figured out that it was going to be relatively easy to automate what he was doing, and went ahead and pulled the trigger and started doing it. So in the last couple of weeks we've been working on this. We've ironed out all the bugs that we can find, as well as added some really interesting features. So we're at a point that this can be released to the rest of the QuantView community to allow everyone to play with it as they want to. So what is Leon Grid? Leon Grid uses the Q Grid indicator, the Q Cloud indicator, and the Moneyball indicator. So on the screen right now, I have a QRenko with a setting of 71133. This is what I run in my automations right now. So the way that he trades this, he's waiting for a pullback of a closure in between the step MA, which is this line here from QGrid, and then a threshold off of that, or an offset off of that. In this case, I made this little indicator, which I will also release. So if you want to do this manually, you can. This is set at a 20 tick offset from the step MA. So there are 20 ticks in between these two lines. So he's waiting for a closure of a bar in between there. So right here, we would get that condition met. So the next condition that we're waiting for is this little add signal. And whenever this HA line turns from bearish to bullish with a bullish Q grid, it will flip on this trigger here and throw you this little circle alert. And this is an add point. So this is a Q grid add point. That would be our second condition. Our third condition is this Q cloud. We're waiting for the QV1 here to come over V5. And whenever it does that, that means all of the little Q cloud lines are bullish. So that would be our third condition. And then our fourth condition is Moneyball being over our threshold line for a bullish trade. It would be under if you wanted a bearish. So whenever all four of those conditions are met, it allows this strategy to open a trade. So this would be a good trade to open. Or if we miss that trade, we have another pullback into this little threshold area, and then an add signal, as well as the V1 over V5 and the money ball down here. So this would be another entry here. And whenever it does that, we're taking three separate entries. The first entry will have a price target of 80 ticks. The second entry will have a price target of 120 ticks. And then the last entry, the third entry, will just be a runner. And it will go up with a trailing stop. So our stop loss, whenever we first open our three orders, all of the orders will have a 75 tick stop loss. And these are just the settings that I'm using. You can change these how you want to. And I'll show you how to do that in the settings here in just a minute. So it takes three entries, and then whenever it exits the first entry at its price target, it moves the stop loss up to the buy entry. And whenever it does that, it starts its auto trail code block, and it will auto trail based on whatever your settings you have. All right, so let's get into settings. Right now we have it on. I'm going to open up our settings here. So I have Leon Grid. I'm going to disable this so we can read it a little bit better. So our first section here are time parameters. You can select between unrestricted trading hours to restricted trading hours. If you want it to only trade during a certain period of time, change this to restricted. And then your start is when you want it to start trading. In this case, I have it at 9:40 a.m. This is Eastern. And then our end time, I have it at 4 p.m. So one little thing that I've added to this, and I'm going to start adding it to all of the other scripts, is this lunch restriction. So whenever you have this checkbox checked, even if you have even if you have this on restricted and your time period overlaps this, these two, if anything happens in between these two boxes, these two time periods here, it will restrict it. It will not let it open a trade between, in this case, I have 11 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. So if you have this unchecked, it will do the full time period. If you have this checked, you can have it trade around a certain time period. So say if you have some sort of news coming out at 10, you can extend your lunch period to 10 a.m. or 9:55 or whatever you want it to, and then check this box, and it will not enter a trade between those time periods. So number 2 here is our profit and loss parameters. We have our standard max daily profit, max daily loss. You just check the box and put it in there. If you don't put it in there, it does not care. It will trade until you turn it off. And then these bottom boxes here, this is one of the new features that I want to put in most of my other scripts. So this is a trailing daily stop loss. And what this does is we uncheck max daily profit. If you want to put in a max daily loss, that's completely fine. If you don't, it'll work with this number. But I say I put in 250 here, and then I click on the use trailing daily stop loss. So whenever our script, our algorithm makes $250 in the day, it triggers a condition and it will allow it to trade until it loses $250. So if you get over $250, if that's what you have set in there, you are not going to lose any money on the day. You might lose maybe the contract commission value, but other than that, it's going to kick you out of your trade to make sure that you don't lose if you've already been green. So you don't want to go green to red. This is how you do that. So it will continue trading. If you're making, say you have it set at $250, you make $1,000, you close $1,000, it will only allow you to lose until you come back to $750 worth of profit. So this is a big feature that I want to add into all of the other scripts. I think this is going to allow, say, QGrid to maybe work a little bit better on some days. I know we go from green to red on that quite a bit. This might be able to mitigate that a little bit. All right, so let's go down to 3. This is our entry parameters. So we have 2 parameters here. These are our lookbacks. So we have, let's do our ad alert. So whenever we get that ad signal, and I guess I have to turn this back on so we can see that. So whenever we get this ad signal here, it's going to trigger a countdown, and it will only allow you to enter a trade if it's within 10 bars of this ad signal. So 10 bars. Every time it closes a bar from that, it starts counting down. So if it gets to 10 bars and you haven't opened a trade yet, it negates the entry and we'll wait for the next one, because we don't want the momentum to be gone and we enter the trade right at the last point and then it turns and goes the other way. We don't want that. So we're trying to mitigate that by adding in a look back value. And I have this one set at 10. That seems to work the best. Your look back, your ad alert look back is typically after your step MA happens. So we typically have the ad alert a little bit lower than the step MA, just so they kind of line up most of the time. So your step MA offset look back, whenever we get in between this threshold here and we close, it's going to trigger that look back timer. And then in this case, I have it set at 15, so it will wait up to 15 bars. If you don't have all 4 conditions in between there, it won't let you enter a trade. And again, that's the same concept. We get too far away from the entry. We don't want to enter and then it turn and go the wrong way. So our next box here, this is the restrict entry with Moneyball. If you want to include the Moneyball in your conditions, You just check this. I have this checked for M and Q. I have it unchecked for MES just because Moneyball doesn't work as well with MES and NinjaTrader. It works great with M and Q. Just MES, it seems to you have to have the period so low that it kind of loses its value a little bit. All right, delay in between trades. This is kind of the one that I'm most I'm looking at it the most right now. I'm trying to fine tune that. 10 is okay as a default value. I've seen good results with 15 as well. So what this is this sets a timer whenever you enter a trade, whenever you are in a trade, it sets your timer at 10. And that timer stays at 10 until you exit your trade. And whenever you exit your trade, it starts counting down every closed bar. And whenever that is in its countdown phase, it is setting a condition of a restricted condition to not allow another entry until that counts down to zero. So after it counts down to zero, it's open to make another trade. But before it gets to zero, it will not make another trade. We had issues at the very beginning of this script opening one trade right after another. Like it exited a trade and the next bar it opened another trade. This is to mitigate that. The other thing that this does is whenever you have a flip of your Q grid here, your step and may flip, it's going to trigger that same countdown and it's going to restrict the first, in this case, it's 10 bars. It will not allow you to um, open a trade in the first 10 bars of the flip. Again, we were having some issues with the conditions from the previous flip carrying over into the the next direction of Q grid, and it would open a trade right on the flip. So to mitigate that, we added the delay, and it seems to be working pretty well. It's just we have to fine tune it to figure out what the right setting is. All right, next we have our order quantities, and this is kind of the core of our script. So order one, this is the order that is going to have the 80 tick profit target. In this case, you can change that to whatever you want to. I have it set at 2. I typically like to have my first order to take profits very quickly, and I want that to be the biggest chunk. So I want to secure my profits by taking the biggest chunk of them at the beginning, just in case it turns around right after that. So our second order, I will check at 1 or input at 1. That's going to be our 120 tick, which again you can change to whatever you want to, and it will exit one trade at 120 ticks. Our third order is our runner, and we don't have it set here. So we don't have a tick value set here. So it is a runner. It still has its stop loss, but it will not have a profit target. So say you don't want order 3. Just put a 0 in there. It will ignore that entry. It will not take it if it is 0. It will only take the entry if this number is above 1. I'm sorry, above 0. If it's equal to or greater than 1. Or same with order 2 and same with order 1, even though order 1 is probably the one that you want on there the most. Say you don't want a second profit target, you just want your your two number 1 entries and then a runner. So you would put order 2 at 0 and you would have your first order be whatever you want on your first profit target and then enter whatever you want on your runners. The number 4, this is our stop loss parameters. So order stop loss is the overall stop loss for the orders. So it's the stop loss for order 1, 2, and 3. And it will combine them all into one order whenever they're the same. So whenever you open the order, it's going to be like this is set at 75. So our stop loss order will be at 75 ticks. Change that to whatever you want to. Next, we have our stop loss step distance and then our stop loss step frequency. This is our trailing stop settings. So I have this set at a 80 tick trailing stop, and then I have it follow every 10 ticks. So every 10 ticks that we move in the right direction, it's going to keep that 80 tick offset all the way up. So every 10 ticks, it's going to update to 80 ticks off of the current price. That's all that is. Moneyball, you just add in your Moneyball parameters and look back at um, the QGrid video for that. QCloud and QGrid parameters are the same way. And then down at the bottom, there's one setting that we need to be mindful of, and that is the entries per direction. You need to change this. In this case, I want 3 different entries. I want order 1, order 2, and order 3. So I have this set at 3. If you have it set at 1, it will only take 1 entry. If you had it set at 2, it'll only take 2 entries. So set it at 3 if you want all 3 entries, and then whatever setting you want for the other conditions. So those are the settings. All right, so looking over some more of the strategy, I have this bar here, this little info bar down at the bottom. This was kind of a debugging bar for me, but I'm going to leave it on there, and then maybe in a future release, I'll make it optional to where if you don't want it, you can take it off of there. So this is just showing you, these are just showing you the values of the parameters as you go through, as you're trading throughout the day. So your add countdown, that's the countdown timer that gets triggered on your add dots. The MA countdown, that's the trigger that whenever you're closing between the threshold here. Um, Delay countdown, that's going to trigger whenever you either exit a trade or you get a step MA flip, a Q grid flip. And then current profit and loss, this is going to be the closed realized value of your profit or your loss throughout the day. So whenever you completely close out, it will update on the next bar. It's not going to update in the middle of your trade. Say you take 3 entries and you close your first 2 entries. It will wait until the third one is closed before it updates completely. And then it will add in or take away the commissions value. So if you're using another indicator that shows, like on my stream, I have the position indicator that shows the realized and the unrealized value or profit and loss throughout the day. That number will only match whenever you are completely out, completely flat on your account. Max profit, this is how your max or your trailing daily stop loss works. So every time your current profit and loss is higher than your max profit, it will resave that value into this parameter, and that's how it calculates how far it will let you lose until it triggers your trailing loss. And whenever it triggers that, this trailing loss hit will turn to true, and it will not allow you to be in any more trades for the day. All right, so the last 4 correlate with our 4 little buttons at the top. Default, whenever you turn on your strategy, the allow longs will be true, allow shorts will be true, trades will be allowed, and then BE just sits there because it only works whenever you're in a trade. So allow longs, if you want to be able to take long trades, this needs to be set on allowing. So if you don't want to take long trades, say it's a down day, you don't want to take long trades because it's against the trend, you can click this and it will show disallowing longs. So the next bar that closes, this value down here on longs allowed will turn to false. And whenever it does that, it will make it to where the program or the algorithm will not take a long trade. If you want it to take long trades, just click it again, and then on the next bar closure, it will update your parameter. Same goes for the shorts. If you want it to allow shorts, it's on by default. If you don't want it to allow shorts, you click on it, turns to disallowing, and the next bar closure, this will turn to false. Just turn it back on whenever you want it on. And then if you want to pause all trades, just click on this button and it will change to trades paused. And then on the next bar closure, this trades paused will change to true. and it will not allow you to take any trades, even though the script is still running in the background. You'll still see your countdowns work, but it will not allow you to enter a trade. Just click it again to turn it back on, and it will allow trades again. So the BE, say you're in a trade and you don't like where it's going, but you don't want to hit the close button because the close button over here on the chart trader will kick you out of the strategy. It'll completely turn it off and you have to turn it back on and start all over pretty much. So you want it to stay in, but you don't want it to go negative. So you hit the BE and it will move your stop loss to your buy entry. And it'll allow you to watch it. If it goes in your direction, it will still calculate correctly. It'll still do your trailing loss. It'll still do your profit targets. But if it goes the wrong way, you'll have that stop loss right at your buy entry. And it'll allow the script to keep working after it closes that. All right, so let's watch a trade. So I know that I have this on market replay. I know that there's going to be a trade right at 940 just because I've seen it 20 times now. So I'm going to turn this on. We have the strategy activated. I'm going to increase the speed here until we get to 940 just for the sake of time, so you don't have to sit here and listen to me talk. And we'll kind of run through how it enters. All right, so we have our closure here in the threshold, and then we have the add trigger here, and we almost have V1 over V5 already. So you can see the countdowns counting down. We don't have a countdown delay, so that's not going to inhibit us. Oh, there we go. So we have our entry here. We have 4 contracts. So we have 2 on order 1. We have 1 on order 2, and then we have 1 on order 3, but it doesn't have the profit target. It's just a trail. So I'm going to increase some speed here to kind of get through this little bit of chop. It kind of comes back down. All right. So if it hits our stop loss, that's fine. I don't think it does, though. So this would be we would start getting more entry triggers here because we're in between our threshold. So it's going to come back up, and then we're back to our entry, and then we're above it. All right, so we're taking off now. So if you clicked BE right now, it would move this stop loss up to your entry. I guess disclaimer, if you do it while, I need to add in a condition, but if you do it while it's below your entry, it will trigger an error and it'll kick you out of everything. You have to start over. All right, so there's our first profit target. It moved our stop loss above our entry, and then it will auto trail as we go up. Let's go ahead and kick it up a little bit. Don't necessarily care if it's correct values. Skipping over some ticks, but that's okay. Just kind of want to get the point. All right, so we're going up. There we get our trail going up with it. That trail is 80 ticks off of the highest close. It's just going to keep going up. And this is a good way to show how this trades. So we had our first profit target. We had 2 contracts there, so they're 2 separate exits. And then our second order had 1 contract, so there's that exit. And it's just going to keep going up here. Oh, that should have been an exit. That's okay. Got it zooming here. So we're going to keep this going until we see the exit. And then we'll look at the delay countdown. Notice it's 10 right now. And our contract fees haven't been taken out of our profit and loss, but we can see our max profit's been going up. We had that set at 250, so that the max or that daily trailing loss isn't active yet. So it only activates whenever it's above the value that you set in for your daily trailing. All right, so still going up. This would have been a good trade. Still going up. That's a almost 100-point trade right there. Let's speed it up a little bit more. And this is the value of leaving a runner. Just look how much this is taking off. This is great. There it is. All right, so now our countdown's going down, and then it would be able to make another entry here if it wanted to. Oh, and there's the flip. So now we have that countdown going down again, and that one's from this. We haven't had an ad signal yet, so it can't do anything, even though the MA countdown from that change right here is still there. We don't have an ad signal, so it wouldn't enter a trade even if it wanted to. All right, so our max profit is at 360, so that daily trailing is now active. If this were to go down $250, it would kick you out of the trade and not allow you to take any more loss for the day. So that would be the value of the daily trailing loss, and I'm kind of excited for that. That one has been a concept for a very long time, and now we get to use it. All right, so I'm going to pause this and then let's talk settings. So how do you get these settings? We're going to go to Discord. I'm going to go down in the pro members area to the automation forum. And then we're going to scroll to NinjaTrader strat testing. And then in here, I'm going to make this a full view actually. There we go. In here, if you click on the pin button, you can go to this link here, this Google Doc list that's going to open up this document. And then at the bottom here, if you scroll over to settings, I have Leon Grid 1 in here. I'll add 2. Leon Grid 2 on the stream is on MES, 1 is on MNQ. I'm thinking about making one on NQ just for the fun of it to see if it gets any different entries as opposed to MNQ. That one will definitely be on a sim account, but here are my settings. This is what I run for the day. Let's see. To get the strategy, I will have it posted on our GitHub. Our GitHub is this NinjaTrader custom Ninja script strategies. If you open this in full view, you can go to the pins here, and then there is a GitHub link, and it will be in the strategies. I'll also add the indicator in there to allow you to put that step MA on the screen. Let's go back here so we can point that out. That's this yellow line. If you want to change that, you just go to the offset here and then change the ticks to whatever you want. So if you want it at 30, hit apply, it's going to change that offset for you. And then you can use it to manual trade if you want to. All right, so if you are not a member of QuantVue and you would like to try this out, you want to go to quantvue.io and sign up for your free trial. And you get to play with this script as well as all of our others for 14 days, absolutely free.